What's up? Hey, everybody.
Motherfucking camera on, hat on, mic on, I'm on. Kevin's off as usual. Can't say no one's name. Weidman, don't know which one's which.
George is amped the fuck up, everybody. I don't know why, because usually when we tape this shit, he's coming home from work and he's fucking tired as balls. But you're fired up, man. Why are you so fired up?
You want to know why? Anyone wants to know why I'm amped up? Is because my whole entire right leg is still completely numb from my debacle this morning. If anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, go to Twitter and check it out. That shit still hurts, dude. And it's starting to swell up like my head, and it's not fun.
It's because you're a white boy and you got no hops, man.
Look, Moon Cricket.
you got no hops, man. So anyway, let's talk about some MMA, and obviously the big thing that's going to be happening on December 28th is going to be the rematch between Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman at UFC 168. But
nah, man, I ain't talking about this. We need to talk about something else.
But before we do
going
talk
down
about
at the MGM Grand for all you people who are worried about test levels and TE levels and all that stuff. So I don't see I don't see but one person on here that we know that has a TRT exemption. So I think everyone else should be safe.
I think everybody should be safe, and let's start with the preliminary card because there's some good fights on the preliminary card. And before the cameras came on, George and I were talking about how some of these matchups we find bizarre because they seem like they're people that are better fighters. Like they seem lopsided. You know what I mean? Like you've got a really good fighter fighting somebody that hasn't done well lately or is not at that tier.
For instance, what Kevin is getting at is on the main card you have Jim Miller versus Fabricio Camões, or C-A-M, a little thing over the O-E-S. He's fighting Jim Miller, and Jim Miller's on a tear. Yeah, sure. Jim Miller's nasty. Well, you also have Gleison Tibau on the undercard fighting the sprinter Michael Johnson. Not really, but I just think that you should flip Fabricio and Gleison and let fucking Jim Miller and Gleison fight. I think that'd be more interesting than watching what I'm assuming and expecting Jim Miller to absolutely peel through Fabricio, who's sitting at 18-8 and has not been. He doesn't have too many impressive wins on his resume.
Well, let's before we we're all over the place.
I'm sorry. I'm just pointing out a glaring mistake in my opinion.
George is ready to call Dana White and make his own fucking card. UFC 168.
And while we're making adjustments to this card, you might as well take Dustin Poirier and Diego Brando and flip-flop them with Lieben and Uriah Hall, because I'm expecting the Lieben-Uriah Hall fight to be over pretty damn quick.
It should be pretty quick. And what George is getting at is on this preliminary card, not the main card. I'll run over just some of the fights. There's a welterweight fight between John Howard and CR. I basically have a lot of vowels and consonant in my last name.
And then
and then there's the featherweight fight between Dennis Seaver and Manuel Gambarian. The lightweight fight is between Gleison Tibau and Michael Johnson. And then on the preliminary card is a middleweight fight between Chris Lieben and Uriah Hall, which I think everybody wants to see because they both just bang.
Maybe that's why they're leaving that as the final one on Fox Sports 1. So you get those people who weren't going to buy the card, which I don't understand, even with the $5 price hike. Maybe they're trying to get some last second PPV buys by putting that fight right there, going, wow, if that's on the undercard, I can only imagine what's on the main card. And then they're going to get treated to Dustin Poirier and Diego Brando.
That could be a good way to lure in people who are not familiar with MMA. Yeah, that's a good point. Now, for everybody that knows about MMA, for everybody that wants, obviously follows the shit, we know this is a big card because of the main event. The two actually co-main events, you could almost call it. But there's a featherweight fight, and that's Dustin Poirier, what you were talking about, versus Diego Brandao, which to me and George is kind of lopsided, which doesn't matter because George and I have a way of fucking shit up when we get cocky and think. But I just think that Dustin Poirier is going to go right through this guy.
I'm gonna go out on a very, very slight limb and say that on the main card there will be no upsets. In other words, I think every fighter who's favored to win will win.
Okay, that's interesting. Everybody, remember that. With him saying that real quick, Ronda Rousey is a heavy favorite. Anderson Silva is a slight favorite. I don't know. Okay, now let's move on to the lightweight fight. The lightweight fight is between Jim Miller and Fabricio Camões. And
they have one common opponent, who's Melvin Guillard. Jim Miller dispatched of Melvin Guillard, and Fabricio lost to Melvin Guillard. Not a knock to Melvin Guillard, but I just think I'd have to give the edge to Jim Miller when you go back and you look at their like opponents, and that Fabricio's 18-8.
Yeah, and just, with that being said, I mean, everybody that Jim Miller faces, I mean, when Jim Miller pretty much disposes of everybody unless you're a really top tier fucking lightweight. You know what I mean? I mean, he's had his problems against champions, and that's it. Everybody else in that class, he goes through. I mean, he lost to Benson Henderson. He loses to people that are really fucking good in the lightweight class. Everybody else, forget about it.
Now he lost to Pat Healy, but it turned out to be a no contest. But before that, Jim Miller had losses to Nate Diaz and Benson Henderson. But like Kevin said, he dispatches of everyone else. Gray Maynard, ex-champion.
Dispatches.
Frankie Edgar, ex-champion. So, I mean, if you look at this guy's track record, he's kind of got that Uriah Faber syndrome.
Can you throw another big word out at me? I like that shit. Dispatches. That motherfucker dispatches his ass. Throw another one at me, man. Come on.
I don't have them right now. They just roll. It just comes to me.
Oh, shit. Are you on pain meds or something? Is that why you're... I guess you wouldn't be hyped up if you were on pain meds.
No, I'm not. It's not that bad. It's not like I went to the hospital. I did fall off the box, scrape my whole entire shin, and then just take a little lap around the gym and got back in and finished my workout.
That motherfucker, you did that. She fucking walking off. My buddy in high school, that's fucking true story, everybody. I'm not gonna lie to you. My buddy in fucking high school, who'd probably be mad if he watches the show, because he still thinks that the guy's after him. He's playing around where, he's on his way to school, and you know how the old gas can't, when you fill gas in your car, it was behind the license plate. You have to lift that shit up and he pulls in, it's snowing out, and he pulls in, and there's a guy basically filling his car up with gas, and he's standing behind his car, and he gasses the car to scare the guy, and he hits the brakes, but the car slides on the ice and fucking crunches this motherfucker. crunches this guy between the cars. I swear to fucking God. Crunches it. He goes, oh! So he backs the fucking car up, right? And the guy crumbles to the ground, right? And he's panicking so bad, he jumps out of his car, George, he looks at the guy, and he starts kicking him in his foot. He goes, come on, man, stop playing. Walk it off. He crushes the motherfucker's legs and tells the guy to get up and walk it off, dude. True fucking story. I can't make this shit up.
I'd have just stayed in the car and hung a tight left and got out of the gas station.
I would have rolled the fuck out, man. But he tried to fucking convince the guy to fucking get up. Guy's legs was crushed. Next time, he saw the guy 2 months later, and he was walking with a cane. 2 months later.
Now,
fuck the guy.
On to Kevin's favorite UFC, MMA, mixed martial arts, pride fighter of all time. Josh, what's it? The babyface assassin Barnett, isn't that his nickname?
Josh, the babyface assassin Barnett, who's been everywhere.
If he'd stop hitting all that goddamn gear, maybe he'd lose some of that baby weight.
I like Josh Barnett. I like how he mixes it up. He's a
y'all
great
got the same drug dealer.
Yeah, he just needs to get somebody that can get him through the test, man, and he maybe could be a champion again. But you know what? Josh Barnett comes to fight. I like him because he's exciting. He, obviously is a former UFC heavyweight champion. He's looked good as of late. He's going up against Travis Browne, who obviously has also looked great. His only defeat was to Antonio Bigfoot Silva, and he wasn't at 100% apparently during that fight, okay?
No.
With that being said, I'm going to go with Josh Barnett because I feel like if Josh Barnett can get Browne to the ground, then it's going to be a lot of trouble. Now, with that, I
just want to touch on one thing you said. You said that Travis was not 100% in his fight against Bigfoot, and I guess I caught some flack on my last fight for getting on Chad Mendez for bringing up the fact that he had a sinus infection. We've heard time and time again from trainers and fighters alike that they very rarely enter the octagon at 100%. So if I don't know about your injury going into the fight, why do I need to know about it afterwards? That's just my point. Like, we get it. We get you're hurt. We get you're injured. We get you go through things. We all do.
George, but this is the thing. I'm sure someone will correct me or tell us real quick on the comment board. But I don't think he was injured going into the fight. I think he broke his hand or he did something during the fight, like immediately, which is part of fighting, obviously. But it obviously impaired him from being able to fight, at 100%. Like he broke his hand or he did something right in the first round. And if I'm wrong, everybody, someone fucking correct me, because I'm good at being wrong. But I think that's what the case was, and that's what fucked him up, I think. So should I shut up? I just should shut up.
Browne tore his left hamstring.
He tore his left hamstring. That's exactly what it was.
Fight. So I corrected you.
There you go. See, now I don't have to listen to all the fucking minions go, it's fucking Taurus hamstring, you fucking stupid
because
Negro.
they didn't hear me tell you what happened. All they did, I think literally people hear the things they don't like, press pause, write their comment, and then just turn the video off.
And then they realized, oh, they corrected themselves after I left my dumb, long, stupid comment. But you know what? I was responding to a couple people from our last video, and they were like, oh, I'm glad you responded. There's actually cool people out there that leave comments. Like, George and I are wrong a lot of times. And I think people think that for some reason or another, we just say something and maybe sometimes it's taken out of context. Sometimes it's you don't get what the fuck we're trying to say. And then somebody who is not a troll will bring up an opinion. I'll be like, oh, they got a good that's a good point. And I'll try to explain from our point of view what we were trying to say, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And you can have a reasonable conversation, which I had with this one gentleman on the comment board, and he got it, and I got what he was saying. He said a point, and he was exactly right, and he proved it, and I was explaining to him what we were saying. He's like, that makes sense, I get it. But some people out there are like, you guys suck, you bald-headed white motherfucker, fuck you, nigger, wrong.
Yeah, dude, and I had
what?
On our last video about GSP and the points I brought up, a guy sat there and said, "What if you were ever to end your little show and whatnot? You wouldn't this, you wouldn't that, da 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 da. You wouldn't." And I said, "Calm down, Tiger." I was like, first and foremost,
was he really a tiger?
I obviously, because he was fucking just tearing up the keyboard with these vicious, vile words, and I just looked at him and giggled. And I was like, the truth of the matter is, on this show, you have your role and I have my role, and we both play our roles very well. And that's why our show works. But if this show were to ever end, it would be stupid of me for not to sit here and thank each and every person who's ever watched or ever left a comment or whoever's joined our Facebook group. Because in the reality of, if you guys never did that, then we would have never made another video. So I would never sit here and not thank everybody for watching. And I do it all the time, actually, but it was just, people just perceive somebody the way they want to and just assume that has to be the way they are. And I'm just like, I can do it.
At the end of the day, anybody who's in any type of entertainment, I mean, I don't know if you want to put George and I in that classification, but we have a good following, and there's people out there that hate us. And you know what? Hey, thank you guys, because you know what? All that negative shit got this show started too. And the people that love us, thank you guys, because we love you guys too. But you need that. You've got to have it on both ends, and at the end of the day, you guys watching the show and leaving the comments to do it makes the Uncut Sports Show. Otherwise, it would, like George said, it would never have got to this huge of a following. And the same thing applies to GSP. He is a great MMA fighter. He trains his ass off. None of us are in there training with him. I mean, maybe a couple people are that are in his training camp, but for the most part, 99.99% of us are not training with GSP. We're not doing shit for GSP. But the one thing we are doing is we are his fan base, and if we don't buy tickets or follow him,
we're lacing his pockets. That dude gets a cut of the pay-per-view buys. If we don't ever buy the pay-per-views and we don't buy his shirts and we don't tune in and people don't go to the fan expo and throw money at the UFC, these guys aren't there. So my problem was to have GSP not thank the fans in his retirement speech. That was my whole point. That's what I was getting at. And for you people who say he doesn't owe the fans shit, you're out of your mind. The only reason he is who he is because the fans have pushed him to that level. He has the personality of a goddamn dead tree. He didn't do it on his own.
right. It's and people have to understand that. And it's not just George, and this is the thing where you got to take it to another. It's not just GSP. It's any MMA fighter, any entertainer,
any athlete. You think Michael Jordan? I mean, Michael Jordan got pushed to the front of Gatorade and Nike because he was good. But when Michael Jordan left, he thanked his fans. I mean, there's not a pro athlete out there who has left their sport and not thanked their fans, because if it's not for the fans buying your pay-per-views, buying your merchandise, watching you on TV, you have nobody to perform for. If no one came to the arenas, the owner's not going to continue to pay the team. It just wouldn't happen. The team would absolve. It just wouldn't be there.
Yeah. Now, we're going to save the rest of this shit for another video, because I'm going to have to edit this. And when I am editing it, and I think about you and I both rambling about...
The next fight's real easy. You want me to tell you how it goes? Ronda Rousey walks across the ring, grabs Miesha Tate, throws her on the ground, and attempts to rip her arm off. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. If anyone else thinks something else is going to happen, please tell me. Because Ronda Rousey's won every fight the same way. Why would she change?
Yeah, it's Ronda. I mean, Ronda Rousey is like the Hoist Gracie of women's women's bodybuilding. Jesus Christ, women's MMA. She has got something down, and she throws you in that fucking hi-ya judo flip, and then she cranks out an arm bar, and nobody has been able to do it. To me, the person that stops Ronda Rousey, and you know what? I'd love to see Miesha Tate do it. I would love to see it get mixed up again and to see that Miesha Tate has evolved and she has got better as an MMA fighter. The one thing I will say about Miesha Tate is her game has evolved over the last 3 years. Every time she steps in the octagon, Miesha Tate is a better fighter. Now, will Ronda Rousey be a better fighter? Will Ronda Rousey allow Miesha Tate to have, obviously as her game evolved, will she let her have obviously be able to pass her up? I don't think so. Vegas doesn't think so because Ronda Rousey is the heavy fucking favorite.
And I tell you what, I would love to see Miesha Tate win, but for my own sanity, because if Miesha Tate wins, they're going to have to fight again. I would rather see Ronda win, move on, fight someone else, and help women's MMA. Women's MMA can't afford to get stuck in a 5-part series between two fighters. They need to promote other women and get them pushed toward the top, because right now they only have one weight class.
Yeah, and that's what I want to see. I want to see a 145 class and a 125 class, and I want to see these girls. I want to see a big girl. I want to see a big, strong girl like Cyborg cut down to 135 who has skills in fighting Ronda Rousey. Yeah.
He could cut to 145. The problem is that Ronda Rousey won't go to 145 because she fights at 135, and she told him that the only way they're going to fight is if at 135. And I think that was Ronda Rousey's way of telling him that she's not going to fight him at 145.
Right. That's
Ronda Rousey was not dumb, not by any stretch. Her camp is smart. She knew when Cyborg came calling that he didn't want to fight at 135. So why not tell Ronda to stay at 135? And then if he wants to come down and fight me at 135, that's what we'll do. But instead, it didn't happen, and he got busted for test, and now is winning like Invicta women's fights or something.
What's up with your S's, man? S's. What's up about them? The S's. They're missing for some. I don't know. Maybe I'm hearing shit, but I'm seeing. You don't have S's on your shit today. Like they're instead of saying
perfect.
she,
Anderson
you're saying
Silva. See Silva. Silva works.
Anderson Silva is going to be fighting Chris Weidman in a highly anticipated rematch. How fucking professional did that just sound? Did you see that?
That was excellent. You expert person.
Let me tell you something. Don't ever say that we can't get professional, because we can get professional. We can break it down and make it fucking professional.
What they fail to realize is if somebody would break me off with $2.77 and a box of Tic Tacs, I'd be professional as hell.
George, okay, for a second, for the next 2 minutes, let's get professional as we can and entertain these motherfuckers out here, all right? All right, we're going to get professional, guys, okay? No more fucking around, okay? At 168, and that's UFC 168, George, we're going to have a rematch, a highly anticipated rematch between Chris Weidman against Anderson Silva, who no one has seemed to heard from. We don't know where this guy Anderson Silva is. He's gone into hiding. He's training with people over in Asia. He's training with people over in Brazil. The guy seems like he's on a mission. What do you say?
Kevin, I agree with you 110%. The thing I'm worried about is watching the UFC road to this fight or lead to the event or whatever they call it this week, because they're constantly changing names. Anderson says he's not going to change his fighting style. Well, I'm pretty sure it's your fighting style that got you in trouble in the first bout, Mr. Silva. And last time I checked, I don't think Chris Weidman's going to change anything. Because, Mr. White, I don't know if you've noticed, but not many of these MMA practitioners tend to change too much about their fighting styles from fight to fight.
George, you're on to something, and I'm going to have to agree with him 100%, people out there. Chris Weidman seems to be very, very just... I can't do this anymore. I can't.
Yeah, I can't either.
I can't.
Anyway, Chris Weidman had a game plan and it worked. Anderson Silva helped him with the Charlie Shuffle or the Icky Shuffle or the Deion Sanders dance.
The Brazilian Shuffle?
Yeah, I don't want to see that. I'd like to see Anderson come out focused, use his head movement, use his striking. He was hitting Chris Weidman at will with the leg kicks in that fight. I'd say open up with that, see if Weidman has come up with a defense, because here's the thing. You're going to slow him down and keep him from coming forward if you chop his legs down.
Right. Yeah, and ultimately, I mean, and even when Weidman took him to the ground, which Weidman did very easily, Weidman took him down in control. That could be a problem for Anderson. We saw that when he fought Chael Sonnen. We've seen that's been a problem. Was it Travis Lutter that also did that? It was another fighter that took Anderson to the ground and controlled him. But that seems to be Anderson's biggest Achilles heel. Well, yeah, I said Chael Sonnen, but it was one other person earlier in his UFC career that did that also, and that seems to be his biggest Achilles heel. If Weidman can do that again, and now I will say Anderson pulled guard, controlled it well, got out of it, got back to his feet. It might just come down to a fight of, okay, can Weidman keep him on the ground and keep him down on the ground, and can Anderson work his way out and keep it standing?
If you go back and look at that first fight, that was the only time he did it, because the fight ended in the second round, correct?
I can't recall.
I'm pretty, because it didn't end in the first round. I'm pretty sure it ended in the second.
Yeah, it was the second round, I believe.
Yeah, because Weidman, because we all expect, because it was at the end of that first round when Weidman got him down, and we were like, oh no, here we go. And I mean, Anderson got out of it and got back to standing. But my thing is, I expected Weidman to come out in the second round and immediately go for a takedown. But he didn't. So my thing is, Weidman's camp thinks he can knock out Anderson again. And I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to be game planning for, because if in your mindset, if I did it once, I can do it again. To me, if I'm Weidman, I'm not coming out with the same game plan. I'm going to come out with the same I'm going to come out and check the leg kicks and then try to set it up for a shot and take him down and control him on the ground. I don't want to stand with Anderson. I don't think he can stand with Anderson 2 times in a row.
Well, let me ask you something. Let me say, obviously, George and I, we haven't hit it. We both have been Anderson Silva fans. I think we're fans of anybody who's an MMA fighter, that fucking dominant, that good.
And entertaining. Let me throw in the word entertaining, because somebody will jump, you don't like GSP. Not entertaining. About as fun as watching fucking grass grow.
Yeah, seeing Anderson jump from middleweights to light heavy and just kind of go through everybody and destroy them and put on a show and finishing people was just, to me, was very entertaining. But let's be real about this shit. And George, what happens if fucking Weidman comes out and knocks Anderson Silva out, finishes him again? Then
it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. I mean, because does Anderson say, "Fucking, I'm done"? I mean, I would.
But see, here's
the year motherfuckers retiring.
Right. Here's where it gets weird, because there's grumblings about if Anderson wins this fight. Now, if he wins, let me say that again. If Anderson wins this fight, there's a little hemming and hawing about him going to fight Roy Jones Jr. in a boxing match.
That shit could be big money.
Right, but it makes sense if he loses. It doesn't make sense if he wins, because if he wins, he's the champ again.
Yeah, but so what Dana White might be like, fuck it, he's the champ, let him do this. Dana White is just trying to put fucking asses in seats.
The only reason Dana White would let him fight Roy Jones is if he's getting a piece.
Well, that's definitely getting a piece. And Dana White probably has a huge fascination with Roy Jones, because he was a former boxer. So I mean, he's, I'm sure he would love to see that. I mean, he obviously he let it happen with Couture and James Toney. So why not?
Come on, man.
I'm just saying, man.
That was James Toney coming to MMA. That wasn't an MMA guy going to a boxing ring.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, James Toney.
And dude, it's James Toney. It wasn't Floyd. It wasn't Zab Judah.
It was James Lights Out Toney, and it wasn't.
Yeah. The only person he turned lights out on was Tim Silva.
Yeah, pretty much.